Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with three key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent. Good evening, Malcontents. My name is David. I am the Malcontent, and welcome to a special edition of Malcontentment Happy Hour. Today is Wednesday, February 24th, 2021. Jennifer has the night off tonight. Tonight we have a special presentation, just as the subject line says. Tonight we are going to be playing an interview with Sir Keenan Hart and with Kendrick Glover. We interviewed them today as part of an upcoming roundtable that KCTS Channel 9, the PBS station here in Seattle, will be airing tomorrow at 7 p.m. on the topic of Black youth mental health. What we're going to do tonight is we have the interview. We're going to play that interview that we had. It's a great interview. Wow, it just sounded so like, it's really great, totally fabulous, great, amazing, bigly. It is. It's a great interview. Where we're going to start things off is with a little bit of a land acknowledgement, and we don't have Jennifer, so I'm just going to wing it a little bit, Malcontents. And then we are going to play a little pre-roll, and then we'll go into the interviews. And we'll have a little time for a little Q&A at the end. Malcontent News would like to acknowledge that we are on the tribal and First Nation lands of the Sahelish. That's why I said it's like, I don't have this list in front of me. The Duwamish and other Pacific Northwest First Nations. We live, work, and recreate on their lands, and we acknowledge that we do that. And we thank them for the ability to do that. And with that, thank you so much for your patience with me winging the land acknowledgement that Jennifer does so much better than I do. With that, what we're going to do is we're going to roll a challenge of the generation. If you haven't seen this before, this is going to be great. If you have seen it before, I think it's worth a refresher because nothing has really changed since we made Challenge of a Generation in the summer of 2020. It really ties into the G.E.M organization and what they do and the interview that we'll be playing. President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 on July 2nd of the same year. The act outlaws discrimination based on race, color, religion, gender, or national origin. It also prohibits racial segregation in schools and employment. Just how far have we come in 56 years? The improvements since 1964 are undeniable. However, the inequality Black, Indigenous, and persons of color, called BIPOC, remain part of the American fabric. The challenges we face as a nation extend beyond the boardroom and include the classroom and the courtroom. According to the Brookings Institute, white American households have a mean net worth of $171,000, compared to just $17,150 for Black families. This disparity cannot be explained away by income, indebtedness, or educational obtainment. When a BIPOC child enters preschool, they are behind their white peers in language and math development, with Blacks even further behind. Preschool programs shrink this gap by the time the students reach the first grade, but those gains evaporate during primary education. By high school graduation, non-whites are 2 grades behind their peers in equivalency testing. Black graduates, 2.5 grades behind. The challenges go beyond equivalency in education. A K-12 Black student is 380% more likely to receive a school suspension, and a gifted Black student is 54% less likely to be recommended to a gifted, talented program. When it comes to high school graduation, success also sees a significant gap. 91% of whites graduate high school, compared to 86% of Blacks, but just 66% of Hispanics and 65% of Indigenous Americans. In the courtroom, BIPOC populations face similar discrimination. 35% of juveniles arrested are Black, despite making up only 15% of the youth population. Data collected since 2015 indicates a Black suspect is twice as likely to be killed by police versus a white suspect. 56% of those serving life sentences in the U.S. prison system, the largest in the world, are Black. The United States judicial system is overwhelmed, with 80% of cases ending in a plea deal and never even going to trial. Between socioeconomic, educational, and judicial disparity, the college and career level impacts is dramatic. 72% of white students that complete high school goes on to an undergraduate program, compared to 44% of Black students and 50% of Hispanic students. While 59% of white students who attend college go on to graduate, only 43% of Black women and 35% of Black men do. And that disparity is maintained even among the elite universities. By the time a BIPOC American reaches the workforce, they have a higher chance of having a criminal record. They are 2 grade levels behind their classroom peers and face a lifetime of reduced opportunity. These issues combine to prevent the building of generational wealth, and the cycle repeats. Hashtags of Black Lives Matter, marketing campaigns, and one-time donations won't change these systemic problems. Unweaving these threads from our fabric will require a generational effort. If we bring true equality to American society, everyone will benefit through less crime, higher GDP, better health, better productivity, and a better standard of living for all. This is the challenge of a generation. Hello, and thank you for joining us. We're here with Sir Keenan Hart and Kendrick Glover of G.E.M. They are both going to be participating in a roundtable that'll be on KCTS Channel 9 Thursday at 7 p.m. The name of the roundtable is Centering the Mental Health on Black Youth. Kendrick, sir, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Kendrick, I think I'll start with you today. Why don't you tell us about your organization, G.E.M., why it was founded, and what it does?
G.E.M was founded in 2014 of June. And before G.E.M was founded, I happened to be a high school counselor in the Kent School District. And over the years of being a high school counselor, I noticed that young people always wanted to have a connection outside of school more than inside of school, because it was the life circumstances they were dealing with outside of school that usually affected some of their in-school performances. So I started having little one-off mentoring sessions after school. And then that just blew up to where students started to responding to me a little bit more by attending school on a regular basis. But when they did, they wanted to have some type of check and connect with me just to talk more about their social and emotional well-being. G.E.M started out of a need from the community, from the youth and young adults that we were serving. We started out as an all young men's program, and now over the last 6.5 years, we have grown into serving young men and young women up to the age of 24, focusing on social emotional well-being. A lot of the trauma that our young people face comes from their social and emotional environment.
It's hard to focus on learning when you're focusing on survival.
It's that whole encounter with Maslow's hierarchy of need. If your bottom need is not being met, how can you go to the next level? You know, if you don't have shelter and food and water, how can you think about going to school and performing at the level that teachers and administrations expect you to perform in? So we figured we will take the academic piece, not completely out of the equation, but we would hold it up to the light and focus on what are some of those things that have some hindrance to our young people actually achieving the academic goals that are set for them.
What are some of the challenges that the minority communities are facing in King County today?
I'm glad that you asked that question. So let's just frame it like this, right? I'm one of those people who I love numbers, but I hate math. And it sounds a little bit funny and cliche, but it's true. So when you think about in terms of numbers, in King County, African American and people of color make up about 7 to 10% of the total population. However, we make up over 45% of the incarcerated population. And that goes from jail to prison to home detention to electronic monitoring, even down to probation and parole. So how can a small population of people make up such a large population of the incarceration population? And not just incarceration in terms of being behind a cell or inside of a prison walls. When we look at the income rate for African Americans and people of color in King County, our counterparts, I mean, and our white counterparts, our Asian counterparts, their income is 3 times as much as our incomes in the same communities. In particular, where we are founded and headquartered in, which is in the city of Kent. So I think the average medium income is about $75,000 for just the average family. But you take that and you slice it in half, you're talking about $35,000 to $40,000 for an African American family here in the city of Kent. This is why our program is needed to help young people focus more on their social emotional well-being. So when it comes time for their academic piece to kick in, which is already natural, it's an innate ability that everybody has a capability of learning. However, when you're focused on, like you said at the beginning, survival first in your home and your community, then you're going to put everything else on the back burner. So this is why this work is so important to us and why we strive to do this work with the fidelity that we do.
U.S. Department of Education has a statistic that a Black student is 380% more likely to get a in or out of school suspension than a white student in the United States of America today.
We have things like we call the Discipline Coalition that was birthed out of the movement of seeing some of our young people. And when I say young people, I'm talking about at the elementary school level, being forced out of school because some of the discipline issues, being misdiagnosed with ADD, ADHD, things like that, because teachers and administration, they don't know how to deal with these young people who are facing some of these social and emotional challenges. So that's why G.E.M is important, going into the schools, going into the classrooms, participating in after school programs, creating a space and a safe place for our young people to come to and land on at our headquarters in Kent, Washington, so that they can be their true selves, but also understand who they are and where they want to go in life by working with some caring adults who have a similar story, a similar background, and who can impact positive change in their life.
You had talked about the type of services that you provide. Could you give me a little bit more detail on that and some examples?
A lot of young people are referred to us through juvenile court, through community agencies, but a lot of our referrals come from schools and school districts because they're at wits' ends with young people who are truant a lot, who come to school and have disciplinary issues, or who just come to school and fly under the radar, just going to classes, get the free meals, socialize, and then they're out of there. And they think because we are a Black-led organization, which our organization represents about 80% people of color that's on our staff, someone does not have to look like you to advocate for you. But it does help when someone can understand your background a little bit more, because the advocacy, it comes from the heart. It means a little bit more. So an example of one of those kids would be a young kid that was in the 6th grade who came into our program for quote unquote discipline issues. But we never saw those issues when this kid was in our building. We never seen this kid curse. We never seen this kid be disrespectful to the female presence that was in our building or the male presence that was in our building. However, when the reports would come back from school, it was always the issue of this kid was being disruptive in class. So we found ourselves to go sit in the class with the young person. And then we found out, well, not all the time was it the kid. It was a lot of times that the way the teacher talked to the kid, the way the teacher welcomed the kid into the classroom, the way the teacher exited the kid out the classroom, the way the teacher did not spend that direct one-on-one time with the kid in the classroom. When our mentors would go in the classroom, our case manager went in the classroom, they saw some of the issues that was being written about, but they didn't see all the issues because there was an action to the reaction for the young person. So it was all about how that young person was being treated, which goes back into the relationship piece.
Sir, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you came into the GEM program?
In the 6th grade, I think it was, my older cousin Larry, he told me, hey, come to GEM with me today. I was like, what's that? He was like, oh, it's just this little mentoring group that I do. It's really fun. So I came with him, and I was kind of shy a little. I ain't even gonna lie. And like the moment I walked in the door, Kendrick comes over there, was like, what's up? How you doing? And I was like, oh, so this is pretty cool. And like one of the like things that helped everybody get broken in, because it was like the first day, we just grabbed like a wad of toilet paper, and we'll take a few, how much we'll use to like use in the bathroom. And each strip on the toilet paper is just some way you have to explain yourself. And one reason like that was really helpful is because like something so simple let us all just say something about us, even if it was like our favorite color or like something we've been through. So that just got us being like, oh, all right, so this person likes this. Oh, we like this too. Oh, we've been through the same thing. So we just like we're more open up with each other. We will work out together, and then we'll go into the classroom. So we do everything like together, just like, oh, if you are a little down, we'll pick you up. And if I'm down today, you help me get picked up. And then like the mentors, if like that wasn't helping, like they'll like be like, you need somebody to talk to, how you doing? And like that really helped me personally, because like 6th grade, 7th grade was all good. I was live with my father. And like the past 2 years, my mom came back in my life, and like my life hit a whole 180. And coming into the summertime, Kendrick was there. It was like, you need somebody to talk to, because I was coming into the building a little sadder than usual. And like everybody would just be like, all right, we understand. And they just helped me think, because at that time it was very hard to just process things. I wasn't rationalizing everything. I was just saying, this gets me mad, let me be mad. But then he just like, I know you're going through a hard time right now, but we believe in you, and we're going to put our trust into you. And, don't let this stop you. You're a great kid. And like those simple things just helped me a lot. Now I go to O'Day. It was like one of the hardest schools to get into in Seattle. So I'm really proud to be able to say that I went to the GEM program, and it's helped me out a lot, from speaking up, being part of things, being a more leader in like my community, my classroom, or even just my peers.
It's really hard in our society because in our society, men and boys are not expected to have any emotions. We're supposed to keep it all inside. And we're taught this at a very young age. Tell me a little bit, sir, about your journey in learning to embrace those feelings. You talked about, feeling angry, feeling sad, feeling down. Kendrick and the organization is telling you it's okay to embrace that and be in those moments. Tell me more about that.
One of the biggest things that like controlled my feelings was my grades, because the elementary I went to, they didn't really teach me like that. My classrooms had like 45 kids in it, one teacher. Then that one teacher wouldn't even give us homework, anything like that. And for me personally, grades play a big role into me getting to the school that I wanted to. G.E.M, it was like around the summertime. My grades weren't as good, so my school, we do summer school just to, like, keep your brains refreshed.
Mm-hmm.
And G.E.M, it was like, what was your GPA from it? I had like a 3.2, and like they helped me in that. They're like, all right, so what's going on? What can't you understand? And they're just helping me. It's like, oh, so this is what you're having struggling with. So they gave me little tips of like how to focus. They're like, here, the one thing, if you're ever feeling like anxious, here's a breathing technique. It's like you hold your nose, you breathe in, you hold it, and then you breathe out the other. They said do that a few times. I did that. I went back into 7th grade and I got my first 4.0 GPA ever. And like after that, I was just like really happy. I just remember like calling Jen, was like, hey, I got this, my GPA this semester, and it was a 4.0. I just remember everybody being like super happy. And it was like, dang, this really helped a lot. And like, I know if I didn't have them outside of like my family pushing me, I probably wouldn't have been more motivated to just go out and be like, all right, I know this is frustrating me, but I got this. There's people rooting for me. So that's one way that they helped me a lot. And like embracing like feeling like down because of something that we get graded on from other people's aspects.
There's been a lot of digital ink that has been spilt on COVID, social isolation, social distancing. A stat that I recently heard is office productivity is down about 62, 63%. Depression is up overall 45%. We see lots of numbers about adults. We don't see a lot of numbers beyond speculation to students. And there's a lot of speculation that this 1 year break because of COVID has been harmful to the student body community. What have you seen and what unique challenges have the minority populations experienced?
With COVID, it just has really shed light on some of the injustices that go on in communities of color. I put this quote up and it says, they love our rhythm, but they hate our blues. Like, right? They would love to listen to our songs, but they don't want to live the words of the song. And that's just the truth about America as it stands right now. And for our young people, we knew that during that time of COVID, especially from probably about March of 2020 to we got into that phase 2 in July-ish of 2020 when they started opening back up and that 25% came. We knew that during those months that they were going to be crucial for us to get our kids from that second semester to that summertime break, right? And we were planning everything we could. So everything went to digital platform. And one of our most successful digital platforms that we still have going on today is our G.E.M virtual club. And it happens every Wednesday evening. And Sir is a part of that G.E.M virtual club. And what we did was we took everyday activities and we just brought them to the web. We brought them directly into the young people's home. So everything from baking cookies to making cinnamon rolls to, to coloring together, like the simplest things that would help these young people take their mind off what was going on around them. We did, and we did it in a very profound and energetic way to let them know that just because this is going on right now does not mean this is going to be lasting forever. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. We did a survey of about 45 young people. About 15% of those young people, the reason why they couldn't participate in our program is because they didn't have the technology access. They didn't have computers. They didn't have internet. They didn't have the broadband with the internet to sustain 4 or 5 people in their house on that same network at the same time. Those things were a real issue for us at the beginning of COVID. Probably for like the first 6 to 8 months of COVID, like we had a decline in our service population because of some technology issues. But it wasn't until we got some grants that we started to be able to build in studio where young people could come down and use the computers one at a time to, connect with their peers and get that socialization that they really wanted. Because we know also that a lot of our young people with their cell phone, they work on Wi-Fi connections. So if you don't have internet, you can't even use your cell phone to browse the web or go onto the social media outlets. So it hit our young people very hard. And we were just glad that we got a couple extra dollars from the Seattle Foundation to leverage some of those resources for our young people to get them the access that they needed at the time. That mental health around COVID for our young people, it really hit them very, very hard. And a lot of them don't even know how to advocate for themselves during this time. So we always recommend things like, hey, do you guys need, a food voucher, or do you guys need transportation voucher? Do you guys need clothing vouchers? Anything that we can do for our young people right now, we are here for them.
There is such a stigma to go, I need help me with this. And people don't ask for the help.
And I'm just going to speak particularly about the Black community. Sometimes we rather go without than to have to tuck our tail and ask somebody for help, because we oftentimes have always been shown that when you ask somebody for help, 9-10 days later down the line, they're going to come back and say, oh, I did this for you. Now you have to do something for me. Every young person in every family that has ever been involved in G.E.M, they always know it's always a give. The only thing we expect to receive from them is that they accept the offerings that we have in terms of programming, in terms of resources, and in terms of connection.
Sir, where do you want to go next? You've got your grades up. You're getting yourself centered. You've got your head in a great space. What next?
I really just want to be able to have my voice be more heard into things. Like, one thing that G.E.M is doing, like in another program that I'm in with them, is that they're helping me build what we're going to do for this incoming summer. So like that's going for, like, if we are in person, we're going to do field trips, what we're going to do for our program, and what we're going to base it on that summer. And like that's helping me a lot, because not only this could go on my resume, but it could also just help me just be more a leader in like smaller groups, and rather just simply taking notes or leading, like, let's say this takes this much time, we have this much time, and just planning. Because me, I'm not that good at planning things. Like, they got me into using my notebook a lot more now. I used to feel like when I used to say things, nobody would listen to me. So I would just be like, all right, I just not going to speak then, because there's no point to it. But now when I speak, people are starting to listen to me more. They understand me. And if we have a disagreement, it's not me getting mad, but it's me understanding where they're coming from. Then like me telling them why I feel differently. And then at the end of the day, still being able to be like, thanks for giving me your opinion. And rather change mine a little, or add things, and be able, for if I get in a conversation like that again, I have more information from the other side and minds.
KCTS Channel 9 is doing an event centering the mental health of Black youth on Thursday, February 25th at 7 o'clock. Kendrick, why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got involved with that and what they're going to be discussing in the roundtable?
It's just our work in the community that we do, and it got some attention, and folk were like, hey, maybe this should be someone you can have on the panel to talk about it. And I love having conversations with talking about supporting young people on whatever level it may be. So my focus on this panel and at this event is going to be more around the socio-emotional well-being from a traumatic standpoint, which is the beginning stages of some of that mental health, depression, anxiety, and things like that young people face. So we just want to get to the root of the problem, and we want to call it out, because when we can call it out, we can name it and we can claim it, and then we can take ownership of it, and we can change some of these things that we face on a daily basis, not just young people, but adults. I think for so long, it's been a stigma in the Black community that we don't talk about some of our mental health issues, because they used to label it as being crazy. Oh, if you have mental health issues, you are crazy. You're quote unquote, something is mentally wrong with you. No, I have trauma for being a young person and seeing my dad get snatched up by police officers, so that's why I don't trust them. Like, that's not mental health issues being crazy. That's just me having a traumatic experience, and nobody says talk to me about the why did that happen. Even if my dad was wrong, could they not have put me in a different room and then taken my dad into custody so I didn't have to see that? That's just one example that young people are in our community have to deal with, which is why we always talk about race relations as well. I mean, mental health and race relations go hand in hand when you talk about it. So I'm just hoping that some of these talking points get brought out in this conversation.
How can somebody support your organization?
We always have needs that are too great to fill. We're a small nonprofit organization. with non-team members. We don't consider ourselves employees because we are a close-knit family, and our young people, when they come in the door, they can see that, they can smell it, they can feel it, they can sense it. So financial support is always one. Also, just getting the word out, just telling people about us. Like, hey, it's a group in Kent that works with young people throughout King County and Pierce County. Here's their website, www.strongchildren.org. And then just any other type of support in terms of coming down and volunteering your time with our young people. And for those people who are out there who are saying, well, I don't have the training to do this, life has been your training. If you've lived, you've learned. And you can share what you've lived and learned through. So don't hesitate to reach out and say, hey, how can I get involved?
Sir, what would you say to somebody who's might be watching this, who's maybe closer to your age, or maybe the parents pulled them into the room and said, hey, you should be watching this right now. And they're like, oh, come on, really? What would you say to them?
I would say to just get involved into G.E.M or something at least like it. Because I know that G.E.M has helped me out a lot in like so many different aspects from all the things I listed earlier. Because I know a lot of people around my age, they feel the same way sometimes, that when you talk that you're not being heard. And that's like a big thing that G.E.M has like have their basis on, is don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Your voice is powerful. So I want for the people around my age, older or younger, just try to get involved something like G.E.M or even just G.E.M and like practice advocating for yourself.
We have been talking to Sir Keenan Hart and Kendrick Glover about the G.E.M program. They will be on KCTS Channel 9 for a roundtable discussion on centering the mental health of Black youth. That will be airing on Thursday, February 25th at 7 p.m. Sir and Kendrick, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for the chance of being a part of this.
I hope you all enjoyed that interview as much as I enjoyed speaking with both Kendrick and Sir. And I encourage you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. to watch the KTCS Channel 9 on PBS Roundtable on Black youth mental health. I think it's an extremely important topic. There was the very sad news that came out today on the study that a Black young man like Sir Keenan has a 20-time higher chance of dying due to gun violence than his white peers. 20 times. We have to fix this, malcontents, and the Black community is not going to be able to fix it unless the white allies stand up with them and say enough. And with that, thank you so much for joining us for this special broadcast. Happy Hour will go on Thursday, and it will start when the KCTS program ends on that. So we're shooting for 8 o'clock. If they run a little over, then we will wait until their show is over. But we are doing Happy Hour. And so with that, thank you again for joining us. Malcontent out. Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with 3 key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events live as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent.